if you're brand new and giving this a try. The format is for me to chatter for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then turn it over to the speaker for 20 to 30 minutes of content, and then a Q&A, and then we drink the rest of the coffee and listen to the music, and then we'll kick you out at around 10:30 or 11. So last week we had, who can remember?
Tracy Wilson-Rossman.
Oh yeah, from Chariot Solutions and the founder of Girl Develop It.
Tech Girls. Close. It's another,
Girls Who Code.
Trying to gap that, or bridge that gender gap.
Yeah. That was compelling and fun, and Chariot Solutions is on the main line. And next week, our speaker is...
Oh, man.
Come on, every week I ask.
I know. You hit me on the last week, and then Okay, so we had...
I could ask Twitter and find out.
We have Kip Wetzel.
It's probably true.
Kip Wetzel from Capital One?
Yes.
Okay, Capital One, Wilmington, head of social and maybe mobile, but we were going to get the big banks from Wilmington up here, and so next week you'll get to talk to Kip if you want. We also do Wednesday night meetings. They're not meetings. It's called Night Owls. It's an event that has no noun. You have to come and experience it. It's its own thing. Now that we have 3 floors and rock and roll equipment in the basement, you get like 3 different experiences. Upstairs quiet, here whatever. Downstairs.
Strategy of clubs for various numbers.
Yeah, right. This week we have Face Crunch. Some guys at SparkNet came up with a way to look at a photograph and then go into a massive library of photos and find ones with similar attributes of the human beings in that picture. So if you want to kind of get a technical, if you want some exposure to interesting technology and do a Q&A with those guys, come tomorrow night from 7 to 10. And what else? Oh, this whole thing has been made possible by some pretty awesome sponsors. One is the Chester County Economic Development Council. Mary Fuchs is right there.
Nice.
It was her kind of vision and our fortuitous bumping into her that kind of created a good partnership that's lasted now a year, getting close to a year. So they've been financial supporters. They've made this place a KIZ, Keystone Innovation Zone, and a whole lot of other things. So we have a lot of gratitude for Mary and her team. Fox Rothschild. I'm gonna get some. Fox Rothschild is our legal back. They've been great. They do office hours as well. Brennan's Office Interiors just hooked us up with some nice desks and conference room tables, and that came through the CCDC too. And actually, Fox came through you guys. And Goshen Group is a tech recruiting firm 2 blocks up. They're pretty awesome folks, very local. Henkin Group runs a wet lab, a co-working space in Eagleview for science people. And Igniter TV, Sean Dominski, live streamer extraordinaire, so that all these meetups are on full length. Mike Ludermoser from 23 North does the vignette, and Jaron does all the photos. So if you see any of this stuff in your social media streams, please share it. It's free, and invite people. If you have people that you'd like to be in Kyle's position right now, let us know. We can talk to you about that. So that's, there's probably more to talk about, but I won't. Oh, I will. Jesse, tomorrow, or Thursday?
Thursday, yep. We had a snow day last week, so we had to move Indie Film Night to this Thursday. But it's a better week anyway, so you can get your spring gear and get all planned up for that. It's Indie Film Night with Amy Freer, filmmaker from Philadelphia. She has a 20-minute short called Another Time. It features Ben Franklin and gratuitous footage of all the bridges in and around Philadelphia. It's beautiful. She's going to be here. She's bringing a whole entourage of people who worked on the film as well. So that starts 7 to 8 is meet and greet. Bring your friends. It's free. We have pizza. We have beer. And then 8 o'clock we screen it. And afterwards we have a Q&A with Amy Freer and her crew. Thursday, come out.
And you are?
I am Jessie Pearsall, Special Events Coordinator here at the lab.
Okay. So, content and then Q&A. Thanks for coming. Let's give them a round of applause before we get started.
So, good morning. So, I probably will not have 20 to 30 minutes worth of content. The way I kind of like to do these things is kind of like a conversation where feel free to interrupt me if you have a question. And I'll start off by kind of talking about some of the things that I'm doing currently and where I came from and all that stuff. And then I'm going to talk probably most about Orth Cleaners, which is not a startup, but kind of a restart. They are located in Coatesville and Westchester, and they have been around since 1927. They were owned by the Orth brothers, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of them or have used them. Probably poor experiences in the last decade or so. But anyways, we recently bought Orth Cleaners and brought a really cool tech solution to the table. Something that we're going to try to do is disrupt this industry, right? This is an industry that for the last 20 years has been starving for technical innovation, both on the back end side, so where we actually produce the clothes, not the clothes, but the clean clothes, and then on the engagement side, right? Why do you still have to go to the dry cleaner and drop your clothes off? Because you never actually just go to the dry cleaner, right? You actually go to the grocery store and then drop off your clothes, or you go to the gas station and then drop off your clothes, right? So we're never really in the forefront of anyone's mind. So we should run with that, You should be able to just schedule this on your phone, and I should come to your house, pick it up, clean it, and drop it back off tomorrow, right? I mean, that's the way we're used to engaging today, especially with Amazon, right? The only reason you go to the brick and mortar is to look at the price, right? And then to get a better one on Amazon. All right, so I'm Kyle Riggle. I'm from Northern California, 45 miles north of San Francisco. I am in New York via Seattle. I was in Seattle working for Safeway. You guys know the big grocery store? Yeah. I managed for Safeway for a while. And I learned an incredible amount of things, like managing in a big corporation, right? You learn to communicate, you learn to really manage, you learn to delegate and follow up, right? So that's really helped me in kind of my journey to trying to get businesses off the ground, and then to help businesses that aren't doing so well. So from Seattle, I actually didn't go to college right after high school. After high school, I didn't really do much of anything, actually. I ended up getting a job at Safeway. That's what I did. And then from there, moved up the ranks really quickly. I started off just with produce, right? I was chucking bananas out on the floor and just hustling, one thing that I've always been able to do is find passion in whatever I'm doing, right? And so that helped me in that corporate structure. I worked hard and I was gung-ho about it. And one thing I've always been doing, I've been working since I was 13, was providing some level of customer service. And that helped me out tremendously at Safeway, right? Here's a company that's poised on just providing a good customer experience. And so the customer service aspect really helped me move up the ladder quickly until I was managing stores, and that's why I moved up to Seattle. I took a job with a Safeway in Capitol Hill. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Seattle. Was in Seattle for 3 years managing Safeways, and decided that it really just wasn't something I wanted to do the rest of my life. So I went back to college. Came to New York, went to Columbia University, and after Columbia, got a job on Wall Street and hated that right away. So I would put in like, let's see. So at the end of my senior year of college, I had a startup. That was when I first got into kind of the industry, right? New York didn't have a big tech startup scene until maybe, I don't know, 2010, 2011, something like that is when it was really starting to like boil up. Part of downtown financial district called Maiden Lane became coined Startup Alley, right? Or I'm sorry, Silicon Alley, the play on Silicon Valley, and that kind of made it, brought a lot of innovation to the city. The city had a lot of innovation. Don't get me wrong; it has more innovation than most places in the world. But as far as like this young innovator who's hungry and 18 years old, like didn't have that much going for it, and from there, now I lost my train of thought. Oh, startup out of college. So this startup was called Advisor. Advisor was a micro consulting platform. Actually, a company in Philadelphia is doing it really well right now. They are called Venture Pact. I don't know if you guys heard of them. Yeah. So we were a little earlier to that game, right? We were trying to, on one end, we had a good tech consulting firm who was backing us. They were providing us clients, and then we were trying to get the startup industry, of course. And then we were the developers, right? So we had this whole class of developers that we could quickly assemble a team of guys because we had like .NET, Java, Ruby. We had all of these different flavors of technology, right? But we could never like catch fire, And in the middle, right, we offered all of these like project management tools. So these are things like, notepads and chat and payment facilitation and all of these things that you would want to have if you were managing projects for enterprise level businesses. But a lot of these developers had no desire to like do that. They didn't want to actually do the project management part of it. So long story short, that failed. And from there, I got a job with EWS, actually. And EWS was one of our early investors in Advisor. They helped us build the product, and EWS was relatively small at the time, a few $1 million in revenue, and about 35 employees, something like that. The idea was to like really grow this business. Like, let's make something of it. We had some solid clients, clients that we still have today, and really are kind of the anchor of our business. And so EWS, like, at the core of it is a development company, right? We build apps, we do business intelligence, we do a lot of data warehousing, and reporting. Great clients like AT&T and Bloomberg and some of these guys that have a lot of money to spend on technology services, right? But what we thought would be more interesting, and turned out it was like, how do we get into this startup game, right? And how do we take our knowledge base and really apply it to these people that really actually could use the help, right? Here we are, like, overinflating the software development market because we're taking business from AT&T and all these folks, where like you guys, the innovators, can't afford the $100 price tag per hour, right? And so we started seeking out some startups and really trying to find a few that we thought had a good idea. It was a product we could get behind, and start really running with it. And so we tried to build a couple apps ourselves. We tried to team up with a couple people, and they didn't. None of them turned out right. None of them worked. Everyone. It's hard to say what went wrong, right? In every case, something else went wrong, but. I think, to be honest, a lot of it was the people, right? It wasn't a good team, right? And one thing I think you guys will find out, and if you haven't found out already, like the team is the most important part of anyone's startup, right? But it turned out that like everyone was trying to make this startup their kind of after hours gig, you know? And so no one was pulling their own weight, right? And so these things kind of just falter off, and then people lose interest and they don't work. So last year, we started a co-working space, kind of incubator, just like this one right here, downtown in Manhattan on Wall Street. It's called Jointure, Joynture. You could throw it up if you want real quick. Jointure is about 15,000 square feet. There's about 20 companies in there right now. We've raised in the last, since October, companies in our space have raised around $15 million. So there's been a lot of investment, a lot of interest in the space. There's like 30 private offices, and then there's a lot of open space. I mean, you're probably talking 6,000 square feet of kind of open collaborative space. But Jointure has allowed us to see a lot of cool ideas come through the door and facilitate things like this right here. And kind of, you know, one thing leads to another, and I start kind of getting equity in more companies and helping out more companies do different things, technology development, kind of business development, using a lot of skills I attained at Safeway, right, to help with the customer experience and the engagement aspect of it. And so now at this point, helping out a restaurant that I'm a partner in, and helping out an app called EDMX that has an app called Supersonic that VH1 is white labeled for a big festival tour this year in India. And that's something that really interests me, is kind of this emerging market, right? India is humongous, and it's unbelievable how much they differ from the US as far as appetite for apps. And I would never know this if I didn't have this app to look into it, right? But really, you know, there's very little crossover between what they're downloading there and what we're downloading here. And so it's interesting to think. This whole time I've been really thinking about how do I engage our market, right? But now you have to kind of put on a different hat and think, how do I engage this market that has a different kind of social appetite, right? And Orth Cleaners, which is not up anymore, but it's over there, yeah. So 7 months ago, let's see. About 7 months ago, we bought Orth Cleaners. And Orth Cleaners, like I was saying before, you know, has a pretty long history in this market. I had known just from my kind of conversations with the team that was currently there, is not currently there, but was there, kind of about like their reputation currently. And I knew it had been tarnished, right? These guys could not clean clothes very well. They definitely did not have the social or the kind of customer service attitude, right? And so, you know, I took it for what it was, and did some more asking. Asked kind of around Westchester, and asked some customers, and got all these different kind of stories. And one thing that was for sure is most people had a bad experience. Maybe not more than one, but which isn't that atypical in a dry cleaning industry. It's a dry cleaning industry. We see a lot of clothes every single day. We're bound to make mistakes, right? But being successful at it actually means that you make as few mistakes as possible, right? I mean, that's what you try to do, is you try to minimize those mistakes. So something that you should always consider when you're going into an industry like this or a restaurant or anything is, how do I minimize mistakes, right? Because you're never going to get rid of them, right? So how do we minimize them? Both on the production side, the customer service side, the payment side. Really what we're trying to do is create less friction across all verticals of the business. And I think that should be a goal of every single person's startup, right? Is trying to create as little friction as possible. And so the dry cleaning industry struck me as like something that just needed help, right? Like, here's an industry that like everyone uses once in a while. Some people use it all the time, and very few people never use it, right? I mean, people use dry cleaners, but they suck. Like the experience is no fun, right? Like there's nothing cool about it, you know? And here we are, like we can't even drive from one stoplight to the next without looking at our phones, even though texting is illegal, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like you want to be engaged, you want something, you want more to this process, right? And so I like frantically called friends and I was like, dude, I'm about to like get this dry cleaner. I know there's like money to be made here. I know this is like this industry can be cool, but like tell me about your experiences with your dry cleaners, right? Particularly interested in my friends in like Silicon Valley, right? San Francisco, a place where there's ripe technical innovation. And more so than anything, people just aren't afraid to fail there, right? So people try shit all the time, and it just like falls aside and never works. But all I was looking for was the story, right? I just wanted a cool experience. I don't care if it's still around, you know? And so one of my friends, he was living in the Presidio, and his name's Colin, great dude. I've known his family, like, our families have been friends my entire life, even my older brother's lives. And he was a very early employee at Lyft. Have you guys heard of Lyft? Pink mustache? Yeah. And he actually was with them until they had like, I don't know, 450 employees. I think they had changed offices like 4 or 5 times. Now he's working on this cool new startup. Anyways, he tells me about his dry cleaner. And I was like, tell me about your dry cleaner. You know, I really want to know. And he's like, dude, I get a text when my clothes are done, and I can literally just schedule a delivery from my text, and like they show up at work. You know? So he's like, I don't even go get them from the front desk. Like, they deliver them to Lyft. I walk outside. I'm like going to my car, and I just pick up my clothes. I was like, okay. And I was like, what do you remember? Like why is it so memorable? And he's like, actually, it's just not. Like, it's just so easy, right? Like, it's not memorable. It's easy, and it's become part of my routine. And really, the dry cleaner is making a killing on me because I dry clean way more clothes now, right? And I was like, okay, I like that. I was like, who made this? Like, where's this software from? Do you know like how they're facilitating this transaction? And he's like, no, but you know, they're still around. I'll give you the number. I was like, all right, cool. And gave me the number, called the guy. Couldn't get through for a while. And then finally talked to him. Guy's name's Bill Albert. And talked to him about the dry cleaning industry, you know, just in general. And then I said, hey, I heard you have a really cool tech solution for this. And he's like, you have no idea, actually. And I was like, okay. He's like, but the thing is, like I just use it here, you know? And he's like, it actually, I used to own a fish business where he was actually like buying the fish from the fishermen and then selling it to Costco and Safeway and all these huge retailers, you know? And actually like really stumbled into the dry cleaning industry. And so he didn't have any hard costs. Like, everything was paid off. Brick and mortar, the business like had no liabilities, like you know, except employee costs. You know, you got some costs every couple weeks. And so he was making the money on the fish business and had this cool software, something like this, that had a lot of the back end processes. So being able to track fish through with dates and times, all these things that you have to do when you're handling food at that quantity. And then he was spending all the money on the software, right? And finally, someone approached him, wanted to buy the fish business. He was left with his dry cleaner. He had this cool software. He's like, all right, I'm just gonna start building out software for my dry cleaning industry now. So he built this cool system. I had to really talk him into just letting me fly back to San Francisco and shadow him for a while, right? I wanted to see what this industry was about because at the time I was a rookie, right? I'm still a rookie. 6 or 7 months in the industry is nothing, but I think one thing that I see some commonalities in is like business in general, business processes, the accounting side of it, the employee side of it. There's a lot of generalities across all these different businesses that I'm a part of. So that part's, I don't know, relatively easy for me at this point. Always challenging. But anyways, I talked Bill into letting me go out, shadowing him, learning what this industry is about, and learning what his solution does. All I had seen at this point was a failing dry cleaner, right? So my whole experience in this industry at this time is complete and utter failure. Like we're handling clothes bad. We're losing clothing of customers. We're spending tremendous amount of money on labor. I mean, running labor costs at like 65% of revenue. Just like everything that you don't do, he was doing. And so when I'm out in San Francisco, I start seeing the processes just like fly through. This guy's got this nailed. And what even struck me as like even more awesome was it was another compliment to like what he had built here was this guy was in his office. We were chatting for like 7 hours, and he didn't step foot in the dry cleaning production plant, right? And like that's where I was spending all my time when I was here, and that's where the guy who was running it at the time, that's where he was spending all his time. He was on the floor in the production plant, which makes it really hard to run the functions of the business, right? And so more and more I investigate, and the more and more I actually talk to him and kind of try to persuade him on the fact that I need this like tomorrow. How can we do it? The more and more we like kind of built a relationship and built a good rapport, and probably one of my biggest supporters here now is Bill. So I flew out his crew from San Francisco. He just got new developers from Sweden. His developers came out. Stayed on my couch in Brooklyn, drive down to Pennsylvania, and we start hacking away at this thing. And so it's an Android-based platform. This is just, I think the website's maybe just a Drupal template with this iframe built in that is all PHP, Android-based. We have incredible like optimization on the back end, which makes this possible, right? Let me tell you a little bit about kind of the process of dry cleaning. So when you come drop, what's your name? Steve. So when Steve comes and drops off items, right? Say you drop off 3 shirts and 2 pairs of pants. I'd take those clothes, and if you drop them off at our Westchester store here, we would bag them. And I'll tell you the old process first. We would bag them, we would write you out a ticket and hand you a carbon copy of it. That ticket would then go in that bag until there's a break in service. Store clerk would go back and go through a process called detailing, right? That's when, back in the day, or even a lot of dry cleaners still, would put the little number through your buttonhole here and put a staple on the end of it, right? That would allow them to later identify Steve's clothes to Steve. And that would take place in the assembly process. And that process is the last process that happens in dry cleaning, right? In the middle, you got the wash, you got the press, and then you finally have the assembly. And then from assembly, it goes to bagging. So in the old process, after those clothing would be detailed, we would come and we would pick up those clothes in our van, we would take it back to our production facility, and we would send it through the wash, we would send it through the press station, and then when we got to the assembly portion, we would hang up that other carbon copy of Steve's ticket, right? Steve has the other part of it, and we would hang it up on a rack in our warehouse, and we would take the clothes that were coming down off the pressing line, right? We have this little hydraulic, what they call a worm rail, that's spinning clothes down on hangers. We would take that hanger and we would walk around all these carbon copy tickets, right? One of the most laborious tasks we had. Walk back and forth, because say we were cleaning 600 pieces of clothing a day. Maybe that's 150 customers per day. So 150 customers to 200 customers have those hanging carbon copied hangers up, right? So you can imagine the labor it costs to go back and forth all day long trying to associate Steve's clothes with Steve, right? And at the end of the day, it's one of the most vital processes, because at the end it affects Steve, right? If I mess up, or my, what worse, $8 an hour labor messes up, I'm hurting, right? Steve's pissed, right? You're going to Parkway, dude. You know, I'm done, right? And that's been happening a lot for Orth cleaners in the last decade. New process. Instead of the process where I put the little paper through and throw a staple on the end of it, the detailing process, and the handwritten tags, and the long, laborious task of assembly, we've thrown in some tech to really kind of shorten those processes to a few minutes actually at this point. Actually like 3 a minute, which is cool. And what we've really tried to do is, while tightening up those back-end processes, make Steve's experience better, right? Because now you can track your clothes through the process. If you have something that's a rush that you dropped off last night, instead of having to go get it, we can deliver it to your house, right? We send you text messages and emails, and you can pay online, and you pay when you go, right? So my process, we have some proprietary payment systems that are built in that we're really trying to make more successful on its own, but we just have a PCI compliant server that double tokenizes your payment plans. But anyways, back to the process. So now Steve walks in, same thing, 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, and you simply walk in, and if you're a new customer, of course, we go through these few steps to sign you up on our system. But if you're an existing customer, you can engage in a number of ways. You could throw your bag at me. You could walk in and have a conversation with one of my customer service representatives. You could probably just leave it right outside the front door and not walk in. Or a number of ways. Or you could just text me. You could text me or email me, or go on orthcleaners.com and schedule it, right, if you're only going to be home for an hour. So actually the opportunities to engage with me now are kind of endless, right? But say you had a traditional run-in with the dry cleaners. You walk in and you say, hey, my name's Steve. I look you up, Steve. Steve, how many items do you have? You say 5. I press 5, hit enter, hand you a ticket, and you walk out. All right? Those clothes, if I've had them before, which you're an existing customer, so the likelihood that I've had your clothes now at least once is high, probably 80%, something like that, you know? If I have had your clothes, then they'll have this little barcode on them, right? And these barcodes are just heat sealed on. They're heat sealed at 400 degrees, and it takes about 8 seconds. And at that time, what we do, which you can't see right now, but we associate all of these things with this item. And there's actually a lot more, but that's on the back end in our processes. So what we do is we identify the brand. We identify the type of shirt, type of clothing. We identify the color, the pattern, the textile, whether it's male or female. And then we note if it has any spots or any damage or if it's in need of an alteration. And that allows us to keep a lot of historical data, right? Some of it which goes into invoices here. Click invoice real quick for me, dude. So like if I can look at any one invoice, why don't you click 4288 or one of these? No, that one sucks. Go to this one, 5392. It's only $3, so it doesn't have anything. So I can see anything that was tallied up under any given invoice, right? So I clean these items as well as these items here. And this tells me when it was picked up, when it was created, of course. And then it gives me the total price. And then a lot of people clean clothes and write it off as a tax write-off, so you can print your receipts at any time. But so after I associate all those things with any given item, I go through the same process as I take my truck comes, takes all the clothing, and then we go back to the warehouse. That's when the fun begins. We throw it in the wash, and then it goes all the way through the same process, the pressing and all that stuff, except what's different now is that every employee that touches that item throughout the process scans it, right? They scan the barcode, right? It allows me a couple really cool things. One, it allows me to show you where your clothes are. Go up. Just go back to clothes tracker. So at any one time, it can tell me or tell you where your clothes are in the process, right? So right now, this tells me it's with the customer. All right, my account's a bad example because I test on it. But what this is saying here is that I have this shirt in my possession. You don't have it in your possession. I have yet to pay for it. That's why it's still in Clothes Tracker. Once I make the transaction, once I pay for it, it just goes back into wardrobe, and I'm not tracking anything at that point, right? It's really me tracking my payment. Where is it, right? But anyways, this says it's in the detailing. This says it's in alterations, right? So these are items that will allow you to identify where your clothes are at all times. And so once it goes down the chute, it gets pressed, it gets scanned, it comes to the assembly part. And this is where I have all the risk, right? I'm the most exposed at this point to my customer because this is where I have to make sure that Steve gets Steve's clothes, right? So now, like before I used to have to do the walk, now the clothes are coming down that worm rack, same one. We're sitting with a little socket Bluetooth scanner, right? I have worked with a company called Texas, Iowa Techniques, out of Texas, oddly enough, to build a rack. And this rack helps me facilitate this process now, right? So it's an automated rack that we have our software built into that has 180 slots. Each one of those slots is associated to a customer. In this case, it would be associated with Steve. And it would actually probably associate 2 slots, right? One for Steve's pants, one for your shirts. So your shirt comes down in random order, right, among all other 600 pieces of clothing that are in the shop right now. And I scan Steve's shirt. The rack at all times is calibrated to me, right? So when I scan that shirt, say we assigned 115 to Steve, and I'm right now looking at 40. Steve's slot comes all the way around, and I simply go boop, boop, and that's it, right? So I've turned a process that's the most laborious into my most efficient, right? It goes a step further, and now when all 3 of Steve's shirts are in that one slot, 160, I have just a Bluetooth printer sitting on a hanger, right, just strapped on. And once that third one gets scanned, that slot will come back to me, of course. My terminal will turn green, and I'll automatically print what we call a drop ticket, and that's Steve's ticket. That means, all right, don't touch these shirts. They're associated with Steve, right? That's when they go to bagging, and that's when Steve gets them out of his house, hopefully an hour later, right? But at that point, what happens is Steve's given a text message saying, hey, Steve, your clothes are done. If you want a delivery, let us know. Actually, it says, Steve, your clothes are at whichever store you're at, like dropped them off at, right? If you'd like a delivery, let us know. Time, sorry, I did have more content. Yeah, sorry. I could keep going all day. I always say that because I never have anything planned, dude.
I'm sure you like to bite off of big projects. Like
I do.
Revolutionized
I totally do,
dry
man.
cleaning from software to all the equipment. So that's a pretty compelling long-term kind of startup or disruption into.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, right? That's the goal. There's a couple people doing this right now. Fly cleaners being like the one started in Brooklyn, actually.
Where are they in the trajectory? Are they ahead or behind?
So less. So they're more on the wash and fold side, right? Which is a big industry in New York City. No one has washers and dryers, so come pick up your 20 pounds of clothes and do it. The problem is that they haven't actually. I mean, at least the problem is that they haven't really vertically integrated, right? They still take the same traditional model of dry cleaner where they pick up your clothes and then farm it out, right? So my margins all, like, right off the bat, cut in half, right? Because your traditional mom and pop dry cleaner simply collects your clothes and then farms out the work to a third party, right? You guys know that most of the time? Okay, so if they charge you $2.25 for a shirt, I should use a higher price than what my prices are. If they charge you $2.95 for a shirt, then right away they eat the first $1.10, right? $1, $1 and dime, $1.15, something like that. Per shirt, right? So all of a sudden they're only making $1.80 and they got to pay labor and they still have overhead, right? Brick and mortar. What's up?
Question.
Okay.
I can understand your engagement process and really works neat, but your operational costs. How much efficiency do you say?
So it's interesting, and we're playing with this right now. I mean, I am able to get my crew out before an 8-hour day. Every day except Monday. And Monday, it's because like I log clothes from Friday and Saturday.
Does that reduce your cost of goods sold by 10%, 20%?
Right now, well, yeah, probably around like 10% right now, 15%, something like that. It's high for like it's not it's a big change, right? But like as far as the employees are concerned. The change isn't that great, I mean, I haven't messed with their process all that much, I've really messed with the one that was the grandest, the one that was eating up all my costs, And I mean, of course, they love it, right? Because they used to exercise all day, and now they play video games.
So they're happier.
Yeah.
What's your name?
I'm Jason.
What's up, Jason?
Yeah, you guys are doing a lot of data capturing. Do you have any uses for that data afterwards?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I don't know what it is yet, but yeah. I mean, and I think that's actually doing a lot of like enterprise data through the EWS side. I'm exposed to big data projects where some of the things we're doing is capturing like over 1 billion logs a day, right? Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I think actually that's been a pretty traditional strategy, right? Just capture all the data you can, dude, and then figure out what to do with it.
But if I'm a blue shirt guy and you know that my shirts are wearing out, you just say, hey dude, can we just like give you an extra shirt for 20% less than save you the ride to the mall, blah blah blah.
That is interesting, actually. Yeah. And actually, I think that there's a lot of kind of these like 5-4 Club. Have you heard of them? What about Trunk Club?
Yeah.
They might like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Where if I know you're the blue shirt guy and they have a way to engage with you, that first interaction, they would love to know that you're a blue shirt guy. Right?
Yeah.
And you know the blue shirt guys.
I know the blue shirt guys.
And
At least in this area.
And you know probably their home address. And you can make sure
Guarantee I know that.
extrapolate on
For sure.
their average So let me stop talking. Who has a question? Anybody?
I said that. I'm sorry. I was going to ask a question about data capture. I was thinking even like you can track if you track stuff like their sizes and you keep their historical data. So you're tracking like, oh, somebody's putting on some weight. So like Weight Watchers.
Oh yeah.
Dude, me being in the city eating fast
So you
food.
put up
Hey, go to
the gym?
go down real quick. Go to like the third page or something.
Oh my God.
Go up. All right, go down to more pages. Where we have the ability to take pictures. Maybe go down to 5.
Okay. Back to
2.
Yeah.
That's the only one. Oh, they took them out. Yeah, we have the ability to take pictures and actually like show you your item clean. And it's cool. It's all automated. It happens at assembly, right? So we scan it, we turn it to the camera, and put it on this. There's just like this white board with a hanger off of it, right? Not a hanger, but like a coat rack. Put the shirt on there, and it will take the picture. But it eats up. It takes a lot to store a ton of pictures. So.
Yeah.
And it also like creates an inefficiency in the process that we're trying to make efficient.
Okay, let's jam in a couple more questions.
Let's do it.
Name, no, you in the black shirt. Name and.
Stephen Ritchie.
What's up, Steve?
Do marketing work in the area.
Cool.
I've never used Orth.
Oh,
I
nice.
use Parker all the
Try it out.
time, love them.
Cool.
You mentioned 2 things that were discontinuous. A, that a lot of these people just hand it off to somebody else, and so much of your work with Orth is in the back end, where you're obviously doing your own process.
Yeah.
So can you address a little bit of that and how your software might
Yeah, you wanna
be
see?
applicable
Sure.
in a larger market where people are just acting at that front end for you?
Yeah, totally. Totally. The problem is like to implement is not cheap, right? So like mom and pop have little incentive to give me 15 grand to implement this, when like their process isn't all that flawed. Like still 99.9% of the industry is doing it, right? So let's see here.
But you could finance it for them. Like,
Definitely. Yeah, there's interesting ways you can just like do a SaaS model, right? I obviously you can double click. You've got like the like operating system commands of like the wing map.
Yeah. That's my girlfriend with my computer.
Always blame them.
so we got about 2 or 3 minutes left.
Sorry. All right, so here's my interface. So obviously the courtyard in Cokesville has laundry to be picked up today. So that's a text message, actually. Texting my local phone number that actually I've just assigned to my POS via Twilio, which is a really cool API. This is one of my employees also texting. These are rush orders, which are just notifications that come into my system. Here's when someone just registered online. So here's my customer modules. This is a customer. This is telling me the location of it currently. So this actually says where it's to be picked up by the customer. This is saying where it currently resides, which is on this storage rack, which is Bradford Plaza, the Westchester store, on BR8. So like we have, the delivery aspect of it, right, which is just showing like how we can track where drivers are on the road and the orders they have in the system right now. So these are their scheduled stops today. And then this is, of course, map with pin drops for each address. That's a bad sign. That means that the driver went out without Gerard McKee's clothes being ready today. The best part really is the analytics I have, like no matter where I'm at, right? Like, so in Brooklyn, I can see income versus expense and production reports, right? So all this really cool stuff. I can see orders that are ready to go and ways to collect that money right now instead of making him come in to the store and pick his clothes up. I mean, one of classic dry cleaning industry problems is accounts receivable, right? Like, we should not be a net 90 industry, right? Because I lose all of my profit once I go past like 15 days of storing your clothes, right? So like, if you drop your dry cleaning clothes off, one thing you should do is be nice and pick them up when they're done, right?
Oh, so you've turned the delivery into a feature, but really it's saving you on inventory.
Definitely. And I mean, my payment systems, which I didn't talk about all that much, the payment systems have really kind of revolutionized, in some sense, the way that the dry cleaners will do business. Because now, like I showed you on a customer, if I go to this customer, I can actually just put them on auto pay. He's got a card on file. So I tokenize that. I don't let any of my store clerks ever see it, which makes my system more secure than if you were to go hand your credit card to my store clerk, right? Because unfortunately I can't control them. I try. Anyways, I can set it to auto pay, and as soon as it's racked in that BR8 spot, remember I showed you BR8? Once it's racked in BR8 by my store clerk, my system charges the customer. We send a receipt via email and let the customer know via text message that the order is ready and where it currently resides. You know?
Okay, well, listen,
yeah, sorry.
let's do one more question and we'll break, and then if you have questions, you can stay and you can continue to demo that. John?
That's a fantastic way of applying technology to a mundane process. But
Thanks, man.
what's next?
What's next? Actually,
go national, sell out the company, go into
this,
selling clothing.
Yeah, I hope something like that's next. But to be honest, I don't know. I'm kind of the guy that would rather take a business with no money and start it, right? Like, I'm gonna leave my mark and try to build Orth and build the business. But one of the guys I just brought on, I graduated with at Columbia. He's ex-Marine. He's a gung-ho, good community guy. And I'm gonna let him run with it. And I'm actually looking at a new app called Park Swift, and it's like to really tackle the parking problem in New York City right now. So that's what's next.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for sharing your story.
Thanks, man.